Brian Teyssier here, and welcome to Road to Closed Quick Hacks. So the question I get asked a lot is kind of a cluster question, and it is, what is the one thing that I wished I could tell every home buyer, first-time home buyer, seller, first-time home seller, empty nester, move-up buyer, and vacation home buyer? That was a lot. Whew. So it's not gonna be one thing that I can tell that's gonna go across all platforms, all people. It's gonna be a different thing for each one. So the one thing I would love to tell every buyer, and this has kind of been like this since the very first day I got in real estate, and it hasn't changed, and all agents should be doing it, and that is, buyers, make sure you're pre-approved. Now, you might not need to get pre-approved. You might be able to get pre-qualified. You might not even need to do that. You could probably get verbally pre-qualified. At the very least, let me generalize it a little bit more. Speak to a lender. It could be a bank, it could be a mortgage broker, but some sort of facility or person that is going to lend you probably a couple $100 grand for a house. And what you're gonna do is, I've already covered this in multiple videos, you should have family budget. Family budget means you know how much money is coming in, you know how much money is going out. And be honest. Don't forget about all those Uber Eats or GoPuffs late at night or going out to dinner or the one you lost at the casino. You gotta add all that stuff in to get a very good picture of what you're spending. And then you gotta get a good picture of the money coming in, how much money you're making, how much money you're winning at the casino. And then at the very bottom, you have expenses out, expenses in. I mean, a savvy person, which I'm not, homebody, I guess you would call it. Doesn't matter if you own a home or a renter, would kind of probably have an idea of this. I did this once, I said this in my last video, and I was so nauseated by how much money was going out, but that's not good if you're a home buyer. So the one thing I would tell all home buyers is speak to a lender. I know a lot of buyers have pushback. I'm not ready to buy, I don't want to get pre-approved and get my credit pulled. Understand, you can get pre-qualified, which means your credit does not get pulled. And sometimes if your lender is your friend or your banker or somebody you know, you could just say, you know, let's assume, you should know what your credit score is. If you don't, you probably know what your credit score is. So you can go online and get a freecreditreport.com or whatever and have an idea what your credit is. You should be able to speak to your lender and say, okay, you know, here's my debt. Debt isn't losing at the casino. They mean like school loans, rent. If you own a home already, you have a mortgage, car payments, stuff like that. Like that's kind of debt the lender would want to know. But your grocery bill, your GoPuff bill, they're not going to want to know that. They don't need to know that type of stuff. So you can just talk to them and kind of get an idea on what you would qualify for. Every once in a while, I look at buying a home and using a mortgage, and I will tell Leslie, my lender, hey, you know, my credit score is X, I should be in the X, and my debt is blah, blah, blah. What do I qualify for? So the one thing I want to tell home buyers and first-time home buyers, you are definitely all lumped in together, and that is, you have to understand what your financial picture is. Back in the day, I was so scared when I first got my license to recommend buyers get pre-qualified, because I must have got hit right out of the gate when I got my license, a buyer, and I know buyers have said it to me before, oh, are you saying I can't afford a house? I'm not saying that at all. I have got absolutely no clue what your financial picture is, and clearly you don't either. But anymore nowadays, 16 years in, I've got no problem saying, get pre-approved. And most people understand that, and you're just looking out for their best interest. So that's first-time home buyers, and that is buyers. Sellers, what's the one thing I would tell you? This is tough, because I have a list of stuff I tell them, but what is probably like the most important thing I would tell sellers? Assuming you've already picked your realtor, I mean, if you didn't pick your realtor, the first thing I would tell them is do your due diligence on your realtor. Sometimes back in the day, before Zillow and social media, you know, you would just be blind and just go with a referral. And I've had plenty of people go with a referral that, to be honest, sucked. And didn't work out, because I've gotten some of those sellers after they said, oh, well, you know, so-and-so referred, had a wonderful, this agent had a wonderful transaction with a coworker, but for whatever reason, it's not working for me. But nowadays, you have so many different platforms to research your agent prior. So if you already have an agent, the one thing I would want to tell sellers is, okay, so you already picked your agent. Here it is. Trust your agent. Listen to your agent. If you have a good listing agent, I don't want to say you're going to have arguments, you're going to have disagreements. The reason is, as a seller, and I've been a seller too, you're probably going to want to list your house for more than it's worth. So a good agent would say, okay, but that's not the price I agree with, right? Or maybe they come in and say you should declutter, and you say, no, we don't want to declutter. Or the house smells like smoke. It doesn't smell like smoke. If you have a good agent, they're holding you accountable. They are not a yes man or yes woman. They are giving you professional advice. You either take it or don't take it. I like to push back a little bit. I think that price is too high. Well, let's give it a try. Are you sure? Just kind of let them know that I respect their opinion and I will do what they want, but I'm still gonna give you my professional advice based on my 16 years of experience that I've seen. And you're probably, if you're a seller, even if you're a flipper, you probably don't sell as many homes as your realtor. Extra bonus content: if you are selling more properties than your realtor, get a different realtor. So that would be the one thing I would say, and that is trust your realtor. I wasn't gonna break it down by don't list too high, go with your listing agent's price, but I'm just gonna generalize it, and that is trust everything your realtor says. If you don't trust your realtor, hire a different realtor. I was gonna say if you don't agree with your realtor, but there's been plenty of times where a lot of my sellers didn't agree with anything I said. We should stage it. No, we don't stage it. Then we stage it and it works out wonderful. Or we're gonna end up getting this price. Okay, but I'm gonna list it high, but okay, we're gonna end up getting this price, we're gonna sit there a little longer, and that's happened. So trust your agent will be the one thing I would tell sellers. Now, the one thing I would tell empty nesters, worked with a ton of empty nesters, but come to terms with what you really need in your current home and out of a new home. So I don't know, for this empty nester question, I'm not gonna address empty nester buyer versus empty nester seller, empty nester in general. Understand where you're at. I have a lot of buyers that come through new construction that I have in downtown Pittsburgh, empty nesters that are out in the suburbs. Sometimes I think they're just like to brag. We're coming from a 6,000 square foot home and we're looking at an 1,100 Lawrenceville loft condo. And it's tough because as a realtor, we don't give life advice. We shouldn't give life advice, but I will kind of just throw it out there. I know you have 6,000 square feet, that's awesome. But you came here for a reason, right? And you knew the general size. You may not have known the exact square footage, but you know it's not 6,000 square feet, and that would kind of be a parallel move anyway. So let's, just come to terms with, do you really need 6,000 square feet? Maybe this 1,100 square foot condo works for you. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's a 2,200 square foot row house that I have listed 2 streets over. We don't know. So empty nesters, try to just understand where you are in your real estate life, not life emotionally, mentally, familial, etc. But real estate wise, do you need 6,000 square or 5,000 square foot home? Probably not. Do you need a 4,000 square foot home? Probably not. Do you need a 3,000 square foot condo? Probably not. 2,200 square feet will probably work. And I have them say, but I have to have bedrooms when the kids come home. Again, this kind of goes back to my answer, is that get in touch with where you really are. Are your kids gonna wanna stay with you? Listen, I'm 50, I live by my parents. I wouldn't probably wanna stay with my parents. There's these things called hotels, Airbnbs. I think a lot of empty nesters wishfully think that all their kids and grandkids or whatever are gonna come and stay with them, and it's gonna be a downsized, big happy home event and holiday like they had when it was 6,000 square feet, Thanksgiving, and everybody came over. It's a different life now. Kids may not like you. They may not even come back. It may just be you and the dog, I don't know. And the last bit of advice is for vacation home buyers. So I have some second home buyers we're starting to represent in Pittsburgh. It's almost the same answer as empty nesters, but in a different respect. Understand what you're buying and what you're buying it for. I've been fortunate. I just closed on buyers buying a second home. They're from the east side of Pennsylvania, and they're moving to Pittsburgh, which is the west side, because their kids got jobs here. They went to college, University of Pittsburgh, Pitt, and then they got jobs here. So they like to drive over for Steeler games and Penguin games or not, but some of the sports and stuff. So they bought a 3-bedroom condo. It's irrelevant, but they were in touch. They were in touch with what they needed. It was perfect size for them, and kudos to them. So it's kind of the same as empty nester for vacation home buyers, and that is understand why you're getting this. First they had, just an example of a most recent transaction, at first they had a little hang up comparing it to their home, and I think it was the wife that did, and the male said, but listen, we're not going to be here all the time, or it might have been vice versa, irrelevant. We're not going to be here all the time, so it really doesn't matter what color that paint is on the wall. I can't remember the exact scenario. That wasn't it. So if you're watching, Chris, I'm not saying it was the paint on the wall, but it was something. It might have been the furniture that was left behind, because it came fully furnished, which is nice, and most vacation homes do. So, okay, I think I hit the nail on the head. That is the one thing I would love to tell buyers, sellers, empty nesters, second home buyers. Oh, and I think maybe I'm gonna throw a bonus one in. Maybe I'm even supposed to talk about it, and that is move-up buyers. And that a move-up buyer is kind of, the answer is gonna be a move-up buyer. What a move-up buyer is maybe they're renting an apartment, right? Maybe the female was in the apartment after college, met the male, or met the female, or the male met the male, whatever, and they started living together for a year or two in this little apartment, and now they're ready to move up. Or it could be an instance of they bought their first home, it's a small little ranch, and now they're moving up for $120,000. Now they're moving up to a $400,000 8 years later. It's gonna be a kind of the same answer, a combination of everything, and that is have a family budget or a household budget, and then understand what you need. Try not to ever buy at the top of your budget. Try to leave a little bit of cushion there. Most buyers do tend to, if they say, let's say I'm having a search from between $300,000 and $500,000, by the time the whole transaction is done, most of the time they buy the $500,000 one. And it's just the way it is, because if you can afford a $500,000 house, you're probably, after looking at houses, you're probably not gonna have any interest in a $300,000 house. So, Brian sells Pittsburgh, Brian Teyssier, RE/MAX Real Estate Solutions. This is Road to Close, and that's a quick hack. Hope you enjoyed it.